Download the My Hingham app today and report issues and get information on town government with ease. Available on the App Store and Google Play. You can submit service requests or gain information with just a few taps on your phone. Using the My Hingham app puts immediate access to town resources in the palm of your hand, including calendars of meetings and events, agendas for upcoming meetings, building permit filing options, online bill payment options, and info about our boards, committees, departments, and services. For more information, please scan the QR code on your screen.
Good evening. It is March 11th, 2025. I'm convening this meeting of the Hingham Select Board. This meeting is being held in person and or remotely as an alternate means of public access, pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023 and all other applicable laws temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. Is there anyone else recording? Yes, sir.
Christian Maker, WACB.
Got it. Anyone else? I will note for the record that participating in the meeting this evening are Liz Klein, Bill Ramsey, and myself, Joe Fisher. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So many of you, welcome back. We had an extensive meeting on Thursday, and if you recall, I began the meeting Thursday evening with a statement about an unfortunate event at Hingham High School where there was a swastika that was found in the restroom, boys' restroom at the school. Since that meeting, there have been 3 additional incidents at Hingham High School. And unfortunately, we have to read a statement again this evening. Hingham is a welcoming and inclusive community, and we take great pride in fostering an environment where everyone feels safe, respected, and valued. Tonight, the Hingham Select Board expresses profound disappointment and outrage over the hateful symbols and racist messages discovered at our high school in recent weeks, including today. Racism, white supremacy, and all forms of hatred stand in direct opposition to our community's values. We unequivocally condemn these acts and will not tolerate them. The recent acts of anti-Semitism and racism are abhorrent and have no place in the town of Hingham.
We are actively working together with the Hingham Police Department and the school department to address this incident. The safety and well-being of all our residents as our highest priority. Our commitment remains firm. We will take strong, decisive action to prevent and respond to hate in any form. To those who seek to divide us, your actions do not define Hingham. Our town stands united in rejecting hate and upholding the principles of respect, kindness, and inclusion.
We commend the students who swiftly reported these incidents and the school for its prompt response. Please reach out to the Human Rights Commission if you have questions, concerns, or need help finding resources. We encourage all residents to remain vigilant, report any hate-related incidents to the town's Civil Rights Officer, Lieutenant John Marquardt, and continue fostering the inclusive and welcoming spirit that makes Hingham a community we are proud to call home.
I just hope we don't have to read these statements on an ongoing basis. Next, we will move quickly to the approval of minutes. We have 3 minutes to approve, 3 minutes that we intend to approve. Liz, are you prepared?
Yes.
Bill?
You ready?
I'm prepared to take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated January 28th, 2025.
Second.
Roll call vote. Liz?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated January 29th, 2025.
Second.
Roll call vote. Liz?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated February 20th, 2025.
Second.
Roll call vote. Liz?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Thank you. We will now move to the next item on the agenda, which is to consider approval of the agreement with Mar Corporation to provide a Vapex odor control system at the Ware River Sewer Pump Station on Rockland Street. We have Russ Tierney available to address that. Russ.
Thank you, everybody. In last year's capital budget, the sewer department put $100,000 to the new water control system at the Ware River Pump Station on Rockland Street. The old system was outdated. The new airs, and we were unable to get any cards to make those again. As you all know, one of the biggest things you'd want to be able to do with our sewer pump stations is eliminate the odors and at least suppress the odors.
Sorry, I apologize. And suppress the odors that come from these pump stations. Part of that is, like I talked about earlier, with the new water booster station, we're going to inject a chemical in there that'll help with that. But this new system will really assist us in with that. We went out to bid over the bidding system. Again, excellent help from our procurement manager. We did have 3 bids. However, after I reviewed all the bids, I found that 2 of the companies just bid their equipment. The bid was very clear that they had a bid installation, removal of some of the old equipment. They had to provide startup of the equipment. They had to provide employee training of the equipment. They also had to have a 24-month warranty. The other 2 companies did not do any of this, so we rejected their 2 bids. The good thing is the company that Mar Corporation, I did look at how much their actual equipment costs, and it is in line with the equipment that we had got prices for. But they did do everything we asked for, and they also have 4 semi-annual inspections. So they were the best bid, the best choice, and so we want to award them with the contract. And this is a $160,000 budget out of the capital outlay budget for the Sewer Commission for FY25.
Could you just speak briefly about the time for performance? It's going out to June of 2027.
Yeah, the equipment is probably 6 months out to order, so we're going to order that right away. We did already start tearing out the old system just to make room for it so that we can just bring the new system right in. I don't have a timeline from them because they wouldn't promise me one until they had a signed contract. So as soon as we sign the contract, I'll get a better idea.
Okay, and just a typical question that I ask, any disruption in service?
No.
Okay. Nope. Great. Liz?
Thank you, Russ. And just to confirm, this is from the FY25 capital outlay budget?
FY25 capital.
Okay.
Bill?
Russ, appreciate you addressing this. I know we've gotten some feedback from residents on it, so thanks for getting after it.
Any questions or comments from members of the public on this? Seeing none, I'm prepared to take a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize the town administrator to sign the agreement with the Mayher Corporation to provide a Vapex odor control system at the Ware River Sewer Pump Station on Rockland Street in an amount not to exceed $137,500.
Second.
Roll call vote. Liz?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Approved. Russ, thank you for being here. David, thank you again.
David, it's a great spot.
Okay, next item on the agenda, we're going to review certain town meeting warrant articles. The first one is Article CC, which is the new pickleball courts. We had extensive discussion at our last meeting, and we are not going to be taking additional public comment this evening. It will just be discussion among ourselves, and Bill has recused himself from this vote. So, if Liz, it's going to be you and me. And I'm going to start by giving my views, then I'll turn it to Liz, and then we'll have whatever dialogue we need, and then move on to a vote. So I have read extensively the material that's been submitted by the Rec Commission, by neighbors. I've done my own reading, and I am impressed with the work that's been done. I think that there is unquestionably a demand for, a need for pickleball courts in the town of Hingham. And I think the rec department has done their due diligence in looking around to find the appropriate sites, narrowed it down, and selected the site that they believed was most appropriate. I know there were comments about whether or not there was sufficient public notice given. I'm aware of the notice requirements in the state. These are notice requirements not set by the Rec Commission, not set by the town. It's actually state law. Section 48, Chapter 48, Section 11, that has a requirement of 300 feet from the property line of a project. That's the state law requirement. Sometimes we go beyond that, and there may be times when we will, but I know that the Rec Commission followed the law, and not only that, did an extensive amount of public outreach. So I am confident that we need to move forward with the pickleball courts. I am also a little concerned about the way the optics look, because the way it typically works with projects is we have an applicant who makes a presentation, and then there's a board that reviews the performance standards that should be applied. And in this case, there really are not performance standards available to the planning board for pickleball courts. Certainly they can do a traffic analysis, but when it comes to noise, it's really not within their purview for the way they would be reviewing the project. So it occurred to me that this project in many ways is similar to and can be handled similar to the way we've handled other projects where the town owns the property and it's up for use. So if some of you recall, HMLP proposed to do extensive work at the transfer station where they're going to do a line out through Weymouth for additional electric service, backup service, and the local residents there, the abutters, were concerned about the impact on their quality of life. They were concerned about how operations were going to be handled, maintenance was going to be handled, and HMLP was of the view that they were going to handle it. But the select board at that point said, no, it's our responsibility. This is town land, and we will make sure that the concerns of the local residents are respected, they're heard, and that it will be up to the select board to make sure that the appropriate performance goals are met. And I think the abutters around the pickleball courts deserve the same treatment, no less treatment than what was given to the abutters around the transfer station, which means that the select board needs to exercise appropriate control with respect to property that is within our custody and control. I noticed when I looked at the reports that were out there, there was a lot of extensive work in terms of the sound standards. One thing I did not see that I think the select board will be looking at is the placement of the pickleball courts. What I've seen is that the orientation of the courts has a lot to do with how the sound propagates. If you're playing pickleball and you can actually see a home in your line of sight as you're serving, that location of the pickleball court actually magnifies the sound. If the court is turned parallel to the home, the sound is significantly muted. And so I think we're going to be looking at the placement of the pickleball courts to make sure that appropriate safeguards in place to minimize the sound impact on neighbors. So in my view, we should proceed, and the select board will exercise appropriate guidance and oversight so that the appropriate standards are applied as we move forward. So that's my preliminary thoughts. Liz.
Well, thank you. And thank you to everyone that participated last Thursday. Appreciated all of the feedback and the subsequent feedback that's been sent via email. We have gone through all of it, and it was nice to have a few days to process all of that. So thank you for everyone's patience and engagement. I certainly understood the need for pickleball courts, the demand, the fastest growing sport in this country, the need for community a place for community to gather, mental and physical wellness, which is certainly a priority for us. But certainly heard the other concerns, financial concerns, traffic, parking, noise. So those, are weighing on my mind for sure. I do appreciate the work that's been completed so far by the Rec Commission and the Pickleball Study Committee. This is not a new project. It has been around for a number of years. There were 48 public meetings. I'm glad we took a breath and did some more meetings over the past several weeks. I do agree with you, Joe, that we have a responsibility to minimize the impact to neighbors. Certainly, I respect, again, all of the work that the Rec Commission has done, and they are advocating for this recreational space, which is their role in town. The select board's role in town is to consider all of the other things, right? The financial impact, the impact on taxes, if any, the impact on traffic, noise, and any impact to the neighbors and the abutters. I am comfortable moving forward with this step at this point, understanding that this is not a done deal. There are many more steps in this process. The planning board will deal with permitting, traffic, assuming the traffic study, the parking will be under their purview. What Joe was just explaining, I think makes a lot of sense in terms of the select board staying very engaged and involved in this process and having control over the noise, which isn't directly under the planning board's purview. And that's certainly something we don't want to lose sight of. We have the advantage of, we didn't invent pickleball. We're not the first community to have pickleball. So there's a lot of data out there that I think we can use and learn from to make sure that it is a good situation for this community. As people that play pickleball, people that use Bear Cove Park, people that hopefully will use the Center for Active Living, as well as the neighbors. And certainly we want it to be a great situation for the entire community. So I do feel, again, I feel comfortable moving forward with this piece of the process, meaning the article will go forward. Advisory committee will do their work. Their role is to do the due diligence, make a recommendation, then it will go to town meeting. I certainly encourage everyone to stay engaged. If you aren't aware of this yet, please get informed before April 28th, and please participate in town meeting.
Yes, I mean, I think communication is important. This board will make sure that to the extent that we have further hearings, there'll be public notice. The Rec Commission will certainly do the same. And I think the community will ultimately be better off as we move forward. But I think it's important that this board exercise its appropriate responsibility with respect to property that's in our care, custody, and control.
Agree. I think that's a great point, and I'm glad you raised that.
So at this point, I'm going to make a motion.
Okay.
And the motion will be, whereas the select board has care, custody, and control of the property on which the pickleball courts are intended to be sited, and whereas the select board will exercise appropriate oversight responsibilities, I therefore move to recommend favorable action on Article CC.
Second.
Roll call vote. Liz?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. And that is it on the pickleball court. Article CC will now move to the community preservation recommendations on the pickleball court, which is Article M, I believe, if I'm not correct. Am I correct? Everything except the pickleball court. So, Liz, do you see any reason for further discussion on that?
I have no questions on this and appreciate the work the CPC has done and the patience in the process.
Yes. So with that, I'm just going to do the same motion. Whereas the select board has care, custody, and control of the property on which the proposed pickleball court are located, and whereas the select board will exercise appropriate oversight over such work, I therefore move to recommend favorable action on the pickleball project, item number 5, within Article M.
Second.
Roll call vote. Liz?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. We now move on to Article Y. which is the citizen's petition for construction, demolition, and commercial landscaping activity. Bill, you're no longer recused.
I did some work on this one this week, too.
You should. My translated to Mary.
Cut.
This move.
Be careful.
I made a presentation last Thursday.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to sit through that again.
No.
Thank you. You do. So if you have questions or it's anything I can do to help.
Bill, I'm going to start with you since...
Yeah, so Mike, thanks for being here. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate our conversation this week. Thanks for taking my call. So I spoke with the police chief in depth about the enforcement of the noise bylaw. I also had about an hour-long conversation with John Coughlin. So I agree with the intent of what you're trying to do. I'm going to support it tonight, but this is in the improper form. I think what you're asking the town to do is to amend the noise bylaw.
Yeah.
I think it's probably section 4, section 7. Okay, 7. Okay, got it. All right. So I think under that section, you're asking to expand the hours, the quiet hours. Right. So the form of what you're trying to do needs to change.
Okay.
So I think what was recommended to me, and I agree with, is that when you go over to advisory, they're going to work with you on wordsmithing to try to get you the intent you're looking for to properly put it before the meeting.
Perfect.
Okay.
Great. Thank you for your help.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to assist.
Liz?
I don't have any additional questions. My, I guess, question last week was, are we amending the bylaw? And is that the intent of this? So is that what you're saying, Bill? Is that's what AdCom is going to help with?
Yeah. So I think what was recommended to me is AdCom's going to help you put it into a form of an amendment opposed to, because otherwise you'd be creating your own general bylaw, which I don't think you want to do.
Which would conflict with the existing bylaw.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. That's a concern.
That was my error.
Yeah, and I think in our noise bylaw, we mentioned legal holidays, like you have national holidays here. Additionally, I think we need to carve out an exception for the DPW.
Yes.
Because if the DPW is working at night, people want to hear that noise because there's an emergency.
Yeah.
So if the DPW has to work on a Saturday night or a Friday night to fix something in town, that's a good noise because something really bad happened and it needs to be fixed. So we need to carve out some sort of a DPW exception to this as well. So I flagged that for John. So I don't know. I think we could probably advance it tonight with the caveat that it be put in the proper form before it be presented in the warrant.
Well, to me, it actually sounds like a modification of the article.
Sure.
And
I think it's still within the scope, though.
I'm not sure. My concern is that this has not gone through any of the boards. There's been no consultation with the building commissioner, impacts on commercial activity, whether or not there are changes, or maybe I should call them tweaks, that would make it work, that would substantially accomplish what you're trying to do. And typically when we have these sorts of changes, there are hearings that are held by an appropriate board that gets the relevant people in and they make their comments. Well, it turns out that maybe 7 o'clock or whatever time we work, that we pick is not the right time. It should be something a little different. I'm just not aware that there's been any communication with any of the boards or any of the departments with respect to the proposals. And I think it's premature to advance this without having those sorts of hearings, which we typically do on every article that the town advances. So it's not as if this is a bad idea. It's just it hasn't gone through the process to make sure it's the right one that we would present to town meeting.
So I guess my question to you is, the police department in conjunction with Mike Clancy enforce the noise bylaw.
Yes.
We're the police commissioner. So what board would it go to? I think it's our jurisdiction to. So I think we're the ones, since in our role as police commissioners, as Mike Clancy's supervisor, we are the ones that would enforce the noise bylaw. I don't think the planning board would or the zoning board would. I think it would come to us.
No, they would not have enforcement authority, but I'm not aware of discussions with any of the landscaping companies, for example. Are you? aware of that?
I'm not.
Or aware of, fortunately, you picked up on DPW. And it's those sorts of pickups that I think should happen before we advance to town meeting a warrant article. Again, if this had gone through the typical process, there would have been those discussions, and I'm not aware that they've happened.
Mr. Chairman, may I
Yeah,
speak?
please.
The carve out for DPW is actually in another section of that article. So the section 7B specifically addresses commercial landscaping and construction.
Yep.
So sorry to contradict, but it's already carved out, and I'm not talking about amending anything other than what I did wasn't precise, but other than Article 42, Section 7B. So the only wordsmithing is my request to amend Article 42, Section 7B specifically.
So you were amending
one small subsection of Section 42.
So we're in Article 42, and you're talking about subsection
7B.
I'm sorry?
7B as in boy.
Right, which is the construction.
Yes, sir.
Demolition and landscaping activity.
It's exactly the same language as in that.
Right. So has there been discussion, I'll ask, with
Why are you asking me? It's an article.
No, well, I mean, I'm asking you because you seem comfortable advancing it.
Well, I'd like to, with the caveat that we'd have to amend the zoning bylaw. I think that's your intent.
That's
Not the zoning bylaw. I mean,
I'm sorry.
Right.
Noise bylaw.
Right.
So Joe, to your
Right.
would the public hearing be with the select board? It sounds like it would not be with planning or zoning.
This would definitely not be zoning. I'm not sure you've been on planning board. Would this come within the jurisdiction of planning?
No. I mean, it's enforced by the police department. I mean, really. I mean, the police department can issue a citation for a violation of a general bylaw. That obviously goes for a clerk magistrate. But the chief said that they've never done that.
Right. I mean, typically.
They've never done that because what happens is, as the chief explained to me, which I thought might happen, if there's a noise complaint that's in violation of the bylaw, police department just asks the person to please, hey, can you cool it? And then the person does, and that kind of usually resolves the issue.
But typically, this would go to the building commissioner.
I think he's weighed in on it, Tom, has he?
So there's technically three people that can approve or waive the bylaw. It's the health agent, the building commissioner for sure, or the police chief.
Right.
Any individual of those three can waive the noise bylaw and allow for an exemption.
Right. So, but you were just asked whether or not the building commissioners weighed in with you on this.
What he's told me is he felt like this should include residential landscaping, not just commercial.
Do you want to expand it? All right, I'm going to propose a solution here. John Coughlin commonly will work with citizens on petitions. Why don't we delay it, have you speak to John, and then come back when it's in the proper form?
Absolutely. I appreciate the...
And then we can decide the merits of the article opposed to the form.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
That makes sense.
It's not just the merits. It's making sure that whoever needs to comment on it has had an opportunity to comment on it before we say, let's move forward with it.
Sure, agree.
Okay.
So that would be the building department,
And that's the response I got from the building department.
And I spoke to the chief at line.
and you spoke to the chief, and he.
I did not talk to Sue because I didn't realize how
Okay.
had a piece here.
But what was the chief's response to you?
It's tough to enforce the noise bylaw. It's very,
I know it's tough.
but he said he's never issued a citation off them because usually the people are very cooperative with the police department when they show up and ask who's ever created the noise to just wait until a certain hour to proceed with whatever they're doing.
Okay. Anything else, Liz?
So are we proposing having a public hearing with health, building, and police? Or we're just asking to get their input?
I think at this point we should make sure that we have their input.
Yeah, and I have not spoken with Susan Sowney.
Okay. And has there been any requests for public comment? Or I should ask you.
Part of this process, there would be, right? I mean, if you're here, as you hear an article, yes, if there's public comment.
Right. I mean, that it'd be unlikely that someone like a landscaper would know that Article Y is relevant to them. So I would think that we would want to, just as we talked about making sure there was public comment on the pickleball courts, that we should make sure that there was public opportunity for public comment on this, unless you're aware of something at some other hearing where this was brought up.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I'm not aware of any other hearing that this has been brought up, but it was in the one of the local newspapers yesterday. So apparently the word is getting out. So I'm not doing this under the veil of secrecy as well. So
I'm not suggesting you were, but I'm just suggesting that there was not a process followed that would make sure that those who had an opportunity to comment, who needed an opportunity to comment, knew that they were supposed to come here.
Come here for this meeting.
Yes.
Good.
So if we can make sure that it's properly posted so that those who would be affected are aware of this, and then I think Bill's idea is a great one.
Just on the website? Sufficient?
Yeah, I mean, it has been properly posted, but you're talking about outreach to commercial landscape.
It's those who are going to be affected, yes.
What form do you expect that to take? I just want to be sure I do what you want me to do.
I would expect, we've got an email blast system that we can send it out, and it's on the website. Okay. And quite frankly, the building commissioner interacts with these folks on a daily basis. Make sure that he's aware of this so that we can make sure.
We can do that.
And how are we in terms of timing to make sure that we can get you to the advisory committee in time?
So we'll do that in the morning, and I would expect you guys probably ought to take this up on the 18th, no later than Tuesday, just because they are running out of time for their articles.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Does it make any sense for me to work with John and get the language before I go to advisory and not have to wait and then have it?
That'll eliminate the lag. That's a great idea.
Yes. I can reach out to him.
It's very helpful. He's very helpful.
Oh, I've worked with him before.
He's a good guy.
Okay, so I think to the extent that there is a need to modify the noise control bylaw, and I think there is a need to not limited to what you have here, but in other aspects. But this is certainly an important first step. But again, I want to make sure that we're not making a misstep but I want to make sure that we've had an opportunity for people to comment.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
One last comment. I agree with you with regards to the weaknesses in our noise ordinance, and I will stand here and volunteer to be a part of the committee that undertakes that.
That is fantastic.
It is a very antiquated bylaw, and the residents, the neighbors, are negatively impacted by the fact that it's not up to where we are today. So I'm raising my hand.
Great.
Yes. And as a first step, if there's a community that has a model bylaw that you think we should look at, it'd be great if you could forward it to our attention.
You bet.
Great.
The biggest issue is the enforcement of it. Like, it's an enforcement problem, right? So it's hard to enforce it because a violation of a general bylaw is some form of a civil violation. It's a fine. And generally, in my experience practicing law, clerk magistrates really don't put a lot of weight on the type of fine before we're dealing with a lot more heavier stuff. But so we can look at that.
Yep.
I completely understand where you're coming from. I also completely understand that there's a real need in the community to look at this. So I'm willing to work with everybody and anybody.
Great.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we will pass on this article tonight, knowing that we'll bring it up. Next, we have Article R, which is the high school roof replacement. I believe we're going to take that up on Thursday.
That's right.
Next, we have Article D, which is a report of the Personnel Board, and I believe we're going to take that up
Tuesday.
the following Tuesday.
Yes.
Okay. And then after that, we have Article E, salaries of town officers. Where's John? Oh, there we are.
Here,
Come on up.
our heads. Should. That's getting pretty comfortable back. And So I think this is the article or that said salaries. Was that what the?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And nothing's changed in this article for I don't know how many years, but
Right.
No raises.
we tried to put in a total increase for the three.
Yeah.
It was roundly defeated in our.
I'm sure.
That would go over well, town meeting.
But it's pretty much the standard format. So
When I started on the board, Karen Johnson warned me that there'd be no increase.
I can't believe anyone's saying something like that. That would be the selectmen.
So,
I forget the numbers.
I mean, I'm familiar with the article, and you're right. It's one of the perennials. Is there anything else that you want to add, Liz or Bill? Any comments?
No questions.
Okay. Any member of the public comment or question on Article E? Seeing none, I'm prepared to take a motion.
And make a motion to recommend favorable action on Article E.
Second.
Roll call vote. Liz?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Okay. Great job.
Thank you.
Okay, we now move to to consider signing the agreement with the Hingham Library Staff Association, Local 888 SEIU AFL-CIO.
So that's uncanny timing. Courtney Orwick, who is the lead on this, just walked into the
Okay.
Come on up. But to the extent you need her, she's there for questions maybe. But this has been vetted by Kevin. This is just an incorporation of the MOU that you've already approved into the CBA.
Right. So this is
Huh?
There's no vote language. It's all fine.
If you to approve the CBA in the form provided, I don't know what.
right. So let's see here.
We get to say to approve
Right.
the agreement with Hingham Library.
Right. So I will accept the motion to approve and authorize. Who is signing it? Is it select board or do you sign?
Select board.
To authorize signing of the agreement with the Hingham Library Staff, Local 888 SEIU AFL-CIO. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. Liz?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. We move on to the next item on the agenda. Consider approval of the application for change of officers, directors, LLC managers at Packaging Center, Inc., DBA Stop and Shop, 400 Lincoln Street in Hingham. Who do we have for this? Is anyone on the line? I see Gene Richard. Is that Gene Richard? Are you there, Gene? We have audio. I am not. Oh, there he is. Can you hear us? We still can't hear you. Can you, anything now? You realize if you're billing by the word, you're in trouble. If you want, you can dial in, and we can do it audio that way if you're, there we go. Tom or Michelle or Art, can one of you walk us through what's here?
Yes.
No, wait. And so this is simply change of officers, directors for the Stop and Shops.
Yeah, I honestly expected Mr. Richard to do this. So I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, has any of the police department reported?
Oh, I'm hearing you.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
We can. Thank you.
And let me. I muted on the computer,
Great.
so hopefully I'll be able to hear you. Mr. Chairman, I apologize for not for the technical glitch, but I am Attorney Gene Richards, and here for the licensee, Packaging Center Inc., which is CDA Stop and Shop. We're asking for a approval of change of certain officers and directors of Packaging Center Inc. I stressed at the beginning that the customer should not see any difference in operation. But the officers being changed, Roger Wheeler is the new president, replacing Gordon Reed, and Mr. Wheeler is also becoming a director. Mary Lynn Phillips is replacing Jeff Deschelle as treasurer and director. Susan Sandville is replacing Mr. Deschelle as secretary. Karen Lynn Mitchell is replacing Dean Wilkinson as the director, and Roger Yeager is remaining as the director. So that's a lot of names, and pretty much all the top three officers and some of the directors. But again, it's really some corporate housekeeping and should not affect operations at the store level whatsoever. So accordingly, pending any questions, we respectfully request that the board approve Stop and Shop's application.
Yeah, and I see that all of the Corey forms appear to be in order. I do have a question. I've looked through what you submitted,
Yes.
and everything looks fine with respect to change of corporate officers. I did not see any LLC entity listed here. Maybe I missed it.
Well, Packaging Center Inc. is a corporation. You're correct, that there are no LLC entity involved. The only reason the title says LLC managers is that the ABCC form is the same for changing LLC managers as officers and directors of a corporation.
Okay, but there is no change in a manager because there simply is no LLC that's applied here. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I just didn't know if I had an incomplete packet. Liz, any questions?
Tom, I'm assuming this has been reviewed by Sharon and
It has been.
did it go to Chief Jones?
Yes, and we've received the queries from each.
Yes, I saw that. Okay. No other questions. Thank you.
No.
So no concerns from the police department? Okay.
Good. Any comments from any member of the public? Seeing none, I'm prepared to take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the request of Packaging Center Incorporating doing business as Stop and Shop, 400 Lincoln Street, Hingham, Massachusetts, for a change of officers, directors, LLC managers in accordance with the application for amendment filed with the town of Hingham on February 13th, 2025, subject to the approval of the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission.
Before there's a second, the document I have shows it was filed with the town of Hingham on February 12th. Do we need to have the motion reflect the correct date?
The letter is dated the 12th. The received date is the 13th.
You're right. That's okay. And the motion is good. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. Liz?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next on our agenda is the fiscal year 26 financial forecast update. Michelle?
Sure.
Okay, so this is version 4 of the FY26 forecast at this point in the process. The main piece of information that we get in early March is the new health insurance rates for the coming fiscal year from the GIC. We always budget, sorry, I'll scroll down. We always budget 10% over the prior year's budget. Unfortunately, this year, everything went up by 9% overall when we kind of take the most recent bill for our employees and retirees and the plans that they're in and put the new rates in. So the retiree plans went up 7 and 8%. The active employee plans went up anywhere from 9 to 15%, depending on the plan chosen. So there wasn't as much savings realized as we had hoped. So our budget deficit for FY26 at this point is about $383,000. The only remaining number that may change a little bit will be the Medicare tax number when we have the kind of finalized employee costs. And so I'll work with Aisha over the next few weeks as budgets are voted to update that number, but that's really not going to change the gap significantly. So we will likely need to look at asking the Board of Assessors to release some overlay to close this gap in FY26.
And what remains is really formula applying.
Right. It is.
So we're seeing a gap of a little over $383,000.
Yes, and I should note that I've got a bunch of numbers grayed out on this. That's just the municipal budgets. They're in here at 3.5% over last year per the MOU, but we haven't, once the budgets are finalized, we'll kind of reallocate numbers between departments, but it won't affect the bottom line when we update those numbers.
Yep. And the number we see here for state aid, that is based on the governor's budget?
That is, yes.
Okay.
So the state budget won't be finalized by the time we have to get ours together for town meeting, but we kind of put in the most recent proposal, and I'll double check to make sure that the House or Senate hasn't proposed anything differently.
Liz.
Thank you, Michelle. So this is the deficit is a little less than when we last saw this.
Right, it didn't really move. It was like $93,000.
A little more, but it's going in the right direction. What other numbers are we still waiting on?
Really just that Medicare number. And like I said, once final votes are taken, I'll update like the capital outlay number and things, but most of those changes are kind of from the top to the bottom. They don't really affect the deficit. We'll update with the final water budget, sewer budget, country club budget numbers, but those are self-supporting. So really just Medicare is I think a 0.145% or whatever the math is. We just have to take the total employee costs and multiply that out. That's in there at a 10% estimate right now, but again, it's a relatively small number. It really won't change this much.
Okay. And the capital outlay we discussed last week, it's separate warrant article for the DPW capital projects. That will not be reflected here.
I probably will reflect it where you'll see the fund balance for that come in on the top.
Okay.
Just so that we can reflect it in the capital outlay number on the bottom, because since that all does go into Article 6, I'd like to show it. So we can talk, I think, a little bit more about, to the extent that capital is funded by fund balance, how much of that do you want to see reflected in here, or is it just what's coming through the committee's recommendations or other warrant articles? So we can figure out what to reflect, but again, that will be, revenue in terms of fund balance on the top, matching the expenditures on the bottom.
Right. I think it would be good to show here, just so people can see it. Okay.
We've done that in the past.
Okay. Yep. Great. No other questions. Thank you.
Bill.
Yeah, so we're trending in the right direction. That's good. From just a week ago, right? So the gap's 383, and how much is the overlay? 6.
Upwards of 800,000. So we could ask them to release kind of up to 400,000, and when we know the exact number in the coming weeks, we can plug that in. We do have $3.5 million in the tax mitigation stabilization fund that town meeting helped us set aside the last 2 meetings. So that's very good in terms of looking at FY27 and even 28 to help close some gaps there.
Good. I think we're in a pretty good place from where we are from past years. So awesome job, Michelle. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you for all your work on that.
Just want to clarify, state one additional thing. So we're hoping to use the excess overlay. Board of Assessors still needs to vote that. That's up to them if they want to release that. If they don't, we still have a backup plan, which is that stabilization account that we set up 2 years ago. So we're not planning to use that this year. This was a year that we thought we would be using it. So again, I've said this several times in our discussions as we go through this process last year and this year.
3.5% is working. It's very difficult to live within, very difficult, but it's helping us live within our means, perhaps more than we had in the past. So I think it's a helpful exercise.
Well, it pushes out a future override too. I mean, that fund is going to, when that day comes, we're going to be ready for it. But you're right. So it is tough to live with 3.5, but
Yeah.
it's a growth control that we needed.
There's $2.5 million in that stabilization account intended to help us get to the next override. So if we're not using it this year, all that money is available next year, in which, now we start looking at how many years can we get before we need one, which is what we were hoping was going to happen.
Right.
So it's really good news all around.
Yes.
And I mean, again, aside from the difficulty of living within 3.5, it sounds tough, but it's really hard to live
Yeah,
within 3.5.
it is tough. But we heard from residents last week, as recently as last Thursday, right, that some people are really struggling. So it's important.
And there's also, I state the obvious, that there's no assurance that any override will pass in the future. So we have some constraints that we have to recognize. Yes.
And to the extent we start using that stabilization account, it's a hole for the next year.
Exactly.
In essence, right?
Anyone have other questions on the financial forecast update? Seeing none, next item on our agenda is appointments or reappointments. I believe we have none for this evening. I'll move on to public comment on items not on the agenda. Any members of the public have comments on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, we move to Town Administrator Select Board reports. Art.
I have nothing this evening. Thank you.
Michelle.
Nothing, thank you.
Tom.
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Liz.
Just a shout out to the girls hockey team. They are playing at the Garden on Sunday for D1 championship. Wow. So good luck, girls.
Bill.
And good luck. It'll be a great game. All I got.
And I've got nothing further until we move to the next item on our agenda, which is a joint executive session with the Personnel Board under Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A3, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with union personnel for the following unions: Hingham Permanent Firefighters Association, IAF, Local 2398, Hingham Police Patrolmen's Association, Hingham Police Superiors Officers Union, MCOP, Local 405. Before I entertain a motion to go into executive session under this item of the agenda, I hereby declare that a discussion of this agenda item in an open session may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to enter executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A3, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with union personnel for the following unions: Hingham Permanent Firefighters Association, IAFF, Local 2398, Hingham Police Patrolmen's Association, Hingham Police Supervisor Officers Union, MCOP, Local 405. The board will not reconvene in open session.
Second.
Moved in second. I'll do a roll call vote. Liz?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. We will now move to executive session. We will not reconvene in open session. Thank you.
Thank you.
We recognize that taking time to visit, call, or email our town departments to report issues in Hingham doesn't always fit your schedule. Are you looking for an easier way to communicate with the town? Well, now there's an easier way. With the My Hingham mobile app, you can submit service requests or gain information with just a few taps of your phone. To get started, simply download the My Hingham app from the Apple App Store or Google Play, or simply scan our QR code to get the access to the app that's best for your phone. Once you've opened the app, select the Submit a Service Request button. From there, you can choose the type of request you want to submit, whether it's a pothole, a fallen tree, or something else. You'll then be prompted to take a photo of the issue and provide a brief description. You can also use the app to track the status of your issue and receive updates. Using My Hingham puts immediate access to town resources in the palm of your hand, including calendars of meetings and events, agendas for upcoming meetings, building permit filing options, online bill payment options, information about our boards, committees, departments, and services. So why wait? Download the My Hingham app today and report issues and get information on town government with ease.